Good afternoon and good evening, everybody. This is Todd Jones, Executive Vice President of Customer Success for ProcessMAP. I want to thank many of you for coming on. We have participants on the West Coast of the United States all the way through the East Coast. We have others in North America all the way through the continent of Europe. So thank you so much, and we sure do hope that you're able to get a lot out of this particular session. As you know, we have three speakers today. One is Logan Fairbanks from Brake Parts. The other one is Jerry Jaskowiak from Medcor, and finally it's Harold Gaminsky, our Chief Strategy Officer at ProcessMAP. Our goal today is really to be able to provide a significant amount of value. You're going to see a couple of things coming through during the conversation. First and foremost, we hope that you get a lot of substantive conversation from our three panelists. The second one is there will be 3 poll questions. We hope to be able to get your feedback. And 3, there'll be an opportunity for you to be able to ask questions, and we hope that between me and then the 3 panelists will be able to answer them. If we cannot, we can commit to you that we'll be able to wrap back around to you. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Logan Fairbanks, Director of Health and Safety at Brake Parts. Logan?
Hi, how you doing, everybody? Good to talk to you. We can go ahead and move on to the next slide if you want to. I represent, I'm the Environmental Health and Safety Director at Brake Parts Incorporated. We've got, here's the agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about Brake Parts history, and then we're going to talk about our success. So right here you see our emblem and our logos and exactly the kind of products that we produce. Are we going to move forward, please? Okay, great. So at Brake Parts, we've been around for a long time. We have over 100 years of brand exposure. We have approximately 5,000 employees globally, and I think on the right-hand side of the screen here, you'll see a map of the globe with all of our operations. We are a premier manufacturer and supplier of brake system components. Some of our larger customers would be AC Delco, which is the GM aftermarket, or when you go to a GM dealership, they're putting on our brakes. Also, Napa Auto Parts. We're the primary brake supplier for Napa Auto Parts, as well as just numerous other customers. Our primary focus is growth and profitability of our customers, also ourselves, through a collective platform of quality, innovation, dedication, and we believe we want to have integrity in all of our business dealings. We demonstrate commitment to research, development, testing of our entire product offering. In fact, right now, my car, I'm a test bed for one of our newer, soon-to-be released products. And we try to strive, or we do actually exceed, original equipment fit, form, and function requirements. I guess we can move on if you want. There we go. We're getting there. Okay, so basically our legacy dates back to 1902, and that's very soon after automobiles were invented. We were the first company to use woven brake lining for improved stopping performance. We're very proud of the fact, bullet points 3 and 5, that we aided the United States in producing brake linings for both trucks and tanks in World War I, as well as aircraft brake lining for World War II. We were the first brake company to hold clinics, and that's where we get with our customers and the installers, and we train them in how to do brake jobs. We have a very long tradition in racing, starting in 1957 at the Indy 500, and we get involved in racing all over the world. We produce brakes for racing cars, so that's a big part of our business. And then over the course of the 100 years, our Raybestos brand brakes are world-renowned for product innovation and marketing, and this leads to the industry's highest quality braking system components. Go ahead if you want. There you go. We're going to make this one really short. We provide brakes for passenger cars, light-duty trucks, which would be everything through four-wheel drive, medium-duty would be vans and stuff that you see in the streets, and then fleet brake systems. And one of the more noticeable things, we supply brakes to the city of New York. So what we want to talk about is the fact that what we produce friction pads and shoes, brake drums and brake rotors, brake calipers, brake wheel cylinders, hydraulic components for your braking systems, master cylinders, brake cable, and other brake hardware. All right, thank you. If we can move forward. This is our aspirational building blocks of our safety culture. We believe in participation at every level, and we want to get buy-in from everyone from the plant floor to the C-suite. We especially are focusing on grassroots engagement at the shop floor level. We believe this is critical to our success. We're there at some facilities. Quite frankly, we have other facilities we're just starting to work with in Asia and in Europe, where we haven't had that opportunity yet. We haven't reached out to them and included them in all of our programs, but that's our goals moving forward. We want to be proactive management. We want to leverage things before they happen, not just capturing metrics and reporting metrics and being reactive. We want to be proactive. We want to know about things before they happen. We want to know about and then take care of things before they happen. Accountability, we want to empower all employees to rectify potentially dangerous situations, regardless of their role. We want people to take action, and we want them to be accountable for safety in their areas. And then finally, we believe strongly in positive reinforcement, where we recognize achievements, and then we share best management practices. We have best management practices documented that we share within our company, and then we have alerts or other things that we share that allow people to understand what's going on in other facilities and how it might impact those guys. Thank you. If you want to move forward. Okay. So here's some of the challenges that we experience, and then we're going to talk about how we've addressed some of those challenges. So we are a global company, and part of the issues that we're looking at is collecting and managing data. This is very important to us. We use ProcessMAP, we use Medcor, and we use other sources to gather data. We then try to mine the data. We try to identify trends, potential risk areas, and what we want to do is address those. We think we're doing a pretty good job. We've reduced our injuries in the United States. We were in the mid-2000s at approximately 200 to 300 injuries a year. Last year we were down to, I think, 36. And we are working on reducing that even further. So that's our goal, and that's what we're working towards. We have been successful. I will be honest. Some of this is due to restructuring within our organization, but we're going to talk about in a few minutes how we are still continue to reduce a significant amount of injuries, work comp injuries in the United States. One of the things we did through our evaluation of metrics and data is we identified that in 2014, ergonomic-related injuries, primarily back, neck, wrists, and shoulders, were made up 69.4% of our total overall injuries in the United States. And this accounted for 70% of the claims, and it also accounted for 70% of the claim costs. So we decided to engage a nationally known ergonomicist, and we held 2 week-long ergonomic training sessions at one of our facilities in the Midwest and another facility we have on the West Coast. And in the process, not only were they were cross-functional teams of floor workers and supervisors and managers. Not only did they get the training, but we actually identified issues, took video of what was going on, came up with corrective actions, and implemented the corrective actions. And we've been very successful. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Some of our challenges include getting management and supervision to pull their weight, to recognize their responsibilities. Lots of times I like to say that if you talk in a room and you ask everybody about safety, does everybody want to have a safe facility? Everybody raises their hand. And then when you start talking about, well, you're willing to develop the financial and human resources necessary to accomplish these goals, are you willing to spend the time to fix things, hands start to not be held up so straight. So that's a challenge that we have, is getting people to do it. And then the most important part of all of this is keeping our employees engaged, motivated, and empowering them to act. And we're having a meeting next week in Chicago with our human resources managers from all over the world, and that's going to be a key topic in our discussions. Okay, if we could, can we move forward? Thanks. So we talked about the results. After doing that ergonomic study, and this is the results from one area within one of our major distribution centers in the United States, people were picking up parts from the floor, parts from pallets on the floor, and we went through and we reorganized all of our racking. We reprofiled it, what we called about. And now every single box is located in what we call the golden zone or the strike zone. It's between the 95th percentile woman's knees and, no, it should be the 5th percentile woman's knees and shoulders, armpits. So by doing that, we don't ask people to do reaches or stretches or too much bending. Our taller employees, this also accommodates their needs. And so we went, again, from basically 200 to 300 accidents to 30 to 40 corporate accidents annually totally. And this is where I want to bring in Medcor. And in the office with me is Michelle Grant, our Medcor. We call her a nurse, but she's actually an EMT paramedic. And we have a clinic on site. And we were talking about it this morning. Last year at this facility, we have, or actually currently in this facility this year, we have 36 incidents. Some are near misses. These are the incidents we have recorded in ProcessMAP. Some of them are near misses. Some of them are temporary employees that we don't handle the work comp costs for. But what happens is by our having our Medcor clinic and Michelle on site, she's been able to keep 85% of the 31 injuries that we have simply first aid injuries. And they haven't moved on to the more costly work comp injuries. It's all handled in-house. We call those saves, like in baseball, if any of you guys are baseball fans. So if Michelle was a professional baseball relief pitcher, she'd be in high demand. She does an outstanding job at keeping these costs and these work comp cases to an absolute minimum, and we really appreciate the work that she and Medcor do for us. Okay, moving on. There we go. So on this slide, I'm only going to speak to the brake parts column on the right-hand side of the page. Basically, we've taken these actions. We streamline and enhance our health and safety management systems. The things we're talking about, both ProcessMAP, Medcor, and other analytical tools, including our TPA, they help us gather information, and we do predictive analytics to help prevent injuries. This helps to reduce our operational work comp costs significantly. It promotes a culture of wellness throughout our organization. We're going to talk a little bit more about how Medcor helps us with that. It enables the progress towards changing safety culture and individual behaviors, and this is our primary goal moving forward. It improves productivity, morale, retention, and absence rates. Once we made those changes to our ergonomic positioning of the parts in our warehouse, the warehouse manager came to me and told me how much production had improved, how much the speed to pull parts had improved due to these simple changes. So what happens is when you do the right kind of ergonomic and other changes, not only are you going to see improvement when it comes to reducing injuries, but in this case, we actually saw productivity improvement, which is really outstanding. It also facilitates OSHA compliance, and it improves our worker health outcomes and satisfaction through immediate injury care and follow-up, and that's very important to our employees. Our employees, if they get injured, it's very important to brake parts, but if our employees get injured, we want to take care of them right away, and that's something where Medcor really helps us out a lot too. All right, moving forward. There we go. So anyhow, through our process with our Medcor on-site clinic, we not only treat work-related issues, but we also treat non-work-related issues. And if you think about it, that's a benefit to your company because it's also going to reduce your traditional medical costs, medical insurance costs. And we found that to be the case. Rather than someone waiting until they have a significant issue, we let Medcor work on it right away, and hopefully through non-prescription medications and heat and therapy type treatments, we can help employees or just catching things before they become serious, help employees improve their health. It also enables a better understanding of the nature, cause, and contributing factors of injuries. equipping us to prevent future injuries. Michelle Grant, our Medcor nurse, she enters pretty much all of the injury data into ProcessMAP at this facility that we have, our largest distribution center, and that helps Michelle. That and the fact that she gets the chance to talk to and speak with the employees helps Michelle to get a full understanding of exactly what's going on, and she shares that information with us, and we glean the information we need to improve our programs. This also helps by having Medcor here. It also helps to eliminate costly employee wait time at off-site clinics and hospitals. I don't know if you send people to clinics and hospitals, but they seem to be there for hours. So what happens is by decreasing those times, it actually increases productivity by minimizing the time away from work for our employees. And then it just says integration with TPA insurance companies, and also we communicate with our attorneys, Medcor, and Brake Parts, and our TPA, who is also our insurer, as well as our defense counsel. We all speak together all the time. Michelle and I talk multiple times every day. We probably talk with our insurance TPA every day. And then when necessary, we talk to defense counsel on our litigated claims. This enabled us to really focus on, and we really do focus and communicate on doing things that we can do to get positive outcomes from our work comp injuries and cases. And then finally, how Medcor helps us out as well is it enables early intervention and better health outcomes. We have health check initiatives here where Medcor and Michelle will run, weight programs, blood pressure programs. We're starting to talk about cholesterol programs where we will help employees identify what their numbers are, and then we'll also help them with suggestions, comments, and sometimes contests to reduce those type of conditions. So it's very helpful to us. Next slide, please. One of the things we found in our programs through Medcor, and we're going to talk a little bit about ProcessMAP as well, but Michelle is bilingual, and we have a large Spanish-speaking workforce, and that helps out a lot. It encourages employee participation and communication, and it also improves their healthcare outcomes. It also allows, Medcor being on site also allows us to capture employees' concern. Michelle is trusted by everyone. Everyone in the world comes in and tells Michelle what's going on or what their problems are. And then through that, if it's not HIPAA protected, Medcor will share that information with Brake Parts. And we use it in a positive manner to improve operations, to improve the things we do, and to follow up and make sure that our employee needs are met. Michelle, or our Medcor representative, also participates heavily and significantly in our safety programs, and she's a co-chairperson, if you will, of our safety committee here at the facility. And then also, all of this helps promote management accountability through the company-wide visibility to metrics. And again, those metrics come from ProcessMAP, they come from our TPA, and some even come from Medcor. And what happens is all of this information provides actionable insights and health safety data necessary for management and planning. It's critical, as is communication. Next slide, please. So this is the last slide, I believe, for Brake Parts, and I do want to add one comment at the end. Our initial goal right now is to eliminate all lost time injuries. That's the direction we have from our executive management team. Ultimately, something I'm adding in is my goal is to eliminate all injuries. And most people say that's pretty impossible, and you know what, it really is. But when a sports team goes in at the beginning of the year and they plan their goals, they typically don't plan to come in second or third place. They want to win the championship. And so you have to have a very hard to obtain goal in order to keep everybody focused, because you never want to get to a point where you're satisfied with where you are. What we also are trying to do, is we see it down in the bottom left, is have a unified global safety culture. Again, we're working on that next week in meetings we're having. Enabling employers to do whatever needs to be get done. Lots of times we find that, If it goes through traditional channels, somebody brings it up, and then somebody's got to tell the supervisor, the supervisor tells management, management directs it to somebody else to take care of. That person has to go see somebody else. And at the end of the day, what you probably could have taken care of in 15 minutes ends up taking 2 weeks. And we're trying to get around that. We talked about how ProcessMAP helps us, and they really do. We're trying to implement ProcessMAP. Our system is called BPIN, Brake Parts Incident Management System, in Mexico in 2016, and then carried on into China in 2017, China and India. And then one of our initiatives is to promote full management and supervision buy-in and responsibility. That's critical to our success. And the one last comment I want to make is probably a question that somebody may answer, and I'm just trying to be ahead of the curve. Why are we doing this? Why is Brake Parts participating in this particular phone call? And the answer is, or webinar, is because the services that ProcessMAP and Medcor have provided over the years have been essential to our success. And this is a way of Brake Parts saying thank you. We've been with ProcessMAP since about 2006, 2007, and we've been with Medcor since about 2009, 2010, and we believe that gives us a real ability to identify what the benefits are from working with these two companies. And with that, I think I'm done.
Well, first and foremost, Logan, thank you very much for those kind thoughts. I sure do appreciate the comments that you had. This is Todd. What I'd like to do now is I think what we're going to do is we'll probably move off of the poll question just because of timing purposes, and I'd like to move right to Jerry. And Jerry, would you like to pick up with Medcor, please?
Excellent. Thanks, Todd and Logan, and hello, Michelle. I know you're there with Logan. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with everybody today, and thanks for taking the time. Medcor, as I've noticed, there are several clients on this call, I believe, today that either use us for either our on-site services or our telephonic injury triage services. And we began business back in 1984, so celebrated 32 years of service coming up this October. And primarily, we started by providing worksite health and wellness services to companies just like Brake Parts, where they had a large enough concentration of employees that could warrant placing that medical professional at the location. And today, we have about 230 clinics that do exactly the things that Logan was talking about in his part of the presentation. And in 1997, we pioneered the 24/7 injury triage. It was really an outgrowth of our clients asking, what more can you do for either remote workers or for smaller locations, or quite frankly, to perhaps even help with those off shifts that they didn't have an on-site clinician at the facility. So today we serve over 147,000 work sites with a combination of the triage and or on-site services. So if you can go to the next slide, please. So as I mentioned just a minute ago, we began delivering our core services directly in the workplace to that injured worker. And as Logan mentioned, basically on the on-site services, placing that medical professional there to treat that individual immediately when that injury occurs helps them make the right decisions, and we help them make the right decisions on what they need to do. So productivity, as Logan mentioned, is huge if you can treat upwards of 85%, which, by the way, is the average across all of our clinics. So Logan's facility is right in line with that, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So, you know, as I mentioned before, an outgrowth of the on-site was what can we do in those locations that are retail locations or grocery or small facilities, smaller distribution centers, that it just didn't make sense to warrant that on-site medical professional. The 24/7 telephonic injury triage product was developed in 1997 to serve just those clients, so virtually can be used at any facility throughout the United States. And in addition to that, I don't know if Logan mentioned it, but we have the ability on site to do some of the employee screening services and breath alcohol testing and AED services, kind of the ancillary, think of it as the ancillary things as part of the health and safety program. And then lastly, the safety services really, for the purposes of this discussion, is a lot of training that you perhaps might be looking for externally or currently utilize, such as lockout, tagout, or some of the other OSHA compliance issues, could all be held at your facility by one of our experienced trainers. So if we can move on to the next slide, appreciate it. As I mentioned, really any industry can utilize our services, whether it's the on-site or the telephonic triage or a combination of both of those. I noticed, again, many callers here that come from many of these industries that are listed here. So if we can move on. I think we had one of the first poll questions here, if you would mind taking a minute or so to just help us understand what you're currently doing at your facilities.
And Jerry, we'll go ahead and we'll keep this open for about 20 seconds, okay?
Super.
Yeah, and if you're an attendee, if you'd like to chat to the organizer, if for some reason you're not able to, hit the button, please let us know. We sure would appreciate it. Let's give about 10 more seconds, guys.
And then if you could move to the next slide, that'd be great. I just have a few more here, and then my portion will be complete as well. Well, look at that. Great.
So it looks like altogether you got about 58% between on-site and telephone triage. So a majority.
Fantastic. I think one of the purposes clearly of this presentation is to talk about these preventative things that we're doing here, and really being able to proactively work toward these things through a combination of a great on-site clinic, whether you have your own in-house nursing staff or use an alternative method of on-site or a triage service. That's a step in the right direction, and I applaud everybody on the call that's currently doing that. If you're not, I hope that you, at the conclusion of this, at least will look into it and see what's out there for these types of services. So getting back to this slide now, slide 21, why do we do what we do? And I think it's really quite simple, and I think it should be a thing that resonates with the audience. We help improve outcomes for injured workers and help them get the proper care immediately, as Logan mentioned earlier, after that injury occurs, because we know if we can help folks, injured workers, make the right decisions on what they need to do, we're going to already be on the road to recovery. And if we can treat them at the location, then they can go back to work and they can be monitored by that clinic, or if they're using telephonic triage, they have the opportunity for follow-up calls and care to make sure that they're doing the right things. And I think that the last thing that we're going to get into in a minute with ProcessMAP, this was a piece that I believe was missing, and we found this a few years ago, that the data that we capture through these injuries, if we can get it into a system, and we found the ProcessMAP system, we're able to really help our clients get good data that they can help make decisions. And ultimately, I think, just like Logan mentioned, everyone's goal would be to have 0 injuries and 0 accidents at their workplace. So that's ultimately what we're trying to get done. As Logan mentioned, we're reducing general health care costs as well, because you build that trust and the respect up from the workers at the facilities. They're more apt to come in and ask questions about simple things, and if we can't help them, we certainly try to channel them to their primary care provider or off-site care if they need it, and if we can't do it at the facility. So we're allowing not only those folks to have that access to the clinic, but now we're freeing our clients to focus on what they do best. In this case, Brake Parts does a great job making sure our automobiles stop in a timely manner.
That is important.
Absolutely. So I want to just transition quickly to an algorithm that shows how Medcor and ProcessMAP help in the injury triage. So next slide. And I'm going to work right to left as that goes. As you see, the incident injury occurs. In the perfect scenario, we would certainly like that employee to report that immediately to a supervisor. Now, if a supervisor is not available, some of these remote workforces, they don't have that. They may be in automobiles or service trucks, and we work out a system to where that injured worker can call directly to us, and we can certainly follow up, as you'll see a little bit later, with providing the right paperwork and entering information into the ProcessMAP service so that you guys get the information that you need. So they call a Medcor, and it's not, or any triage, it's not the intent to call anything and everything. We certainly don't want the 911 events. Most organizations have systems in place already to be able to handle those types of situations. So when they call for those minor strains and sprains, what I like to call in between the 911 and the do I just need a Band-Aid, that's where we've been very, very successful on the injury triage product. And that supervisor initially gives us information on where they're calling from, what happened, gives us a quick set of information on that, and then we quickly talk to that injured worker. A triage nurse, based on a software-driven platform, asks a series of questions, and the algorithm is driven to rule out the 911 all the way down to where we could say, hey, I think it's going to be safe for you to treat this on your own, and are you comfortable in doing that? If so, we'll let your supervisor know what we found, and back to work you go. So there's really two outcomes. We can either get them safely back to work, or they need to be referred to that outside provider. Once that happens at the conclusion of that call, that is the process now where ProcessMAP steps in after we insert data, and the claim data, if it goes to the off-site provider, gets entered into the system, claim costs and notes into the system, and you, the client, are able to receive that information in real-time format. So again, this triggers any type of an injury claim investigation that your process may have now at your workplace, and making sure that all the regulatory compliance and reporting is covered, and then continue to now look at the dashboard and the analytics, and ultimately, how do you get to what Logan mentioned, and that's the improved safety culture and the safe workplace. I think it's important to note at this point, this isn't just somebody like a medical provider coming in or a triage provider coming in and helping you. Yes, that's important. You're relying on that third party to help with those decisions, but it's really a communal effort between the safety efforts of the organization, building the trust and respect up with your workers, your employees, your associates or advocates, whatever you may call them, and ultimately fighting to get to that, how do we prevent anything from happening in the first place. So if we could just go to the last wrap-up slide, 10-second slide. Basically, what I already started to talk about here is that with the integration of the ProcessMAP service, getting this data to you and to the proper folks based on some sort of an intervention that Medcor has, ultimately you as the client have fewer claims and the associated cost that come with those claims. So I appreciate everybody's participation, and I'll turn it over to, I believe, Harold.
Harold, before you get going, this is Todd Jones again, everybody. Thank you for your attention so far. If you want to be starting to ask some questions vis-a-vis the chat function, I encourage you to do so. Second thing is I want to make sure that you know that from our point of view, we understand that Medcor and ProcessMAP are primarily tools to facilitate your process, to really help to enable your culture. And I think Logan hit it right on the head that it really has to be buy-in all the way from the top down and, frankly, from the bottom up. So As we go through this, and Harold's going to be wrapping it up for us, I hope that you know, that we know, that really we're just basically tools, and we want to be good partners for you. And again, I think I speak for Jerry at Medcor in order for you to facilitate the strategy that you want to be able to achieve. That being stated, I'd like to get this second poll question up and tee this up for Harold. How much does your company spend on work-related claims annually? So let's go ahead and take 30 seconds. And if you could, go ahead and do the interactive part of the conversation, please. We sure would appreciate it. Let's give it just a couple more seconds, please. Let's give it 10. All right, well, thank you so much. We sure do appreciate you doing that for us. And what I'd like to do now, I'll have Harold start with going over the results of this, and then he'll take it and wrap it up. Harold?
Harold Gubnitsky, and appreciate, first I want to start off with thanking Logan and Break Parts. We value the relationship, the partnership, and very proud to be associated with this great success that they've had and to be part of that equation. And so, again, want to thank and recognize their thought leadership in the industry and our appreciation. And the same token, Jerry and Medcor, it's been a growing partnership and a combined solution for the marketplace, which we think is unique and valuable. And so looking at the poll questions here, we see a significant amount of the group here is over the 5 million, and I'd like to point that out. And of course, any number here is too much. And then 25% does not have access to this information. We see that trend going down, and hopefully with the system similar to ProcessMAP or other data points, that number will continue to go down. And so what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about what we're seeing in the industry, how we're working with customers in the markets similar to everyone that's on this call today. And the first part is really to take a look at the numbers here. And not that we want to put a cost on human safety and health, but there is a dollar associated with it. And so I want to just pull out some information that's out there in various aspects of the industry. Unfortunately, as recent as 2014, nearly 5,000 deaths in the U.S. alone in terms of work fatalities, resulting in about $5 million per fatality. Again, we don't want to put dollars next to that, but there are dollars associated with these incidents, and the more those dollars we can retain and keep in our environment, the better we can improve our work culture. I'll just point out a couple other points in here. And as we're dealing with our financials and we're dealing with our CFOs, all of us, for every example, and depending on the margin of your industry, if you're saving $500 in incidents, if you're looking at the middle box there, and you're selling soda, as an example, that's about 61,000 cans of soda if you look at the margin associated with that, or 235,000 donuts in terms of margin. The point is, for every dollar that we can save and we can improve, not only do we create the safety culture, the improved productivity that Logan had mentioned, but we also have an improved bottom line, which will then generate additional dollars that can go to help in continued improvements and being proactive on the analytics and more predictive. So I just want to make a clear point. For those 25% that don't have a clear view on those numbers, the safety culture and the dollars are correlated. And there is an impact associated with that. And I advise us all to take a look and make sure that we know that, those numbers. And Logan has done a great job of being able to correlate those numbers, and I'm sure being able to filter more of that information, those dollars back into the continued improvement. So taking that example down further, I know we've been talking about work-related incidents, and that's a clear aspect of what we do at ProcessMAP. I would highlight that's not the only area of focus. So our platform, or platforms similar to ours, we look at not only work-related, we look at vehicle, we look at property, we look at environmental, we look at general liability. So on a holistic picture, that's what you want your health and safety system to be doing, is looking at your incidents in totality and globally if your company is global in nature. In this example right here, you see the silos, the challenge that most of our customers have with TPA or insurance information on the left. You see the safety information coming from a system such as ProcessMAP. You'll find or worst case spreadsheets. You'll have risk information. You'll have HR information. What our platform does is works to put all that together. Because without that information in one system, you have the challenge of redundant data, uncorrelated, and not able to make decisions. And that's what we see as the area that we want to collectively improve, is how to ensure that you're in position to take information, to have a system, a platform, help you identify where you need to take actions, where those insights are, where do you need to make some changes, and then take those actions and to move forward. So what if you had a system that was able to connect all these data points, that was able to go ahead and really improve that silo problem? And that's what I want to talk to you for a few minutes now. So this slide is titled The Future of Health and Safety. And I'd like to suggest that future is here. We're working with customers today just on this front. And I'll use brake parts as a transportation industry. So as just one example, you can relate this example to your particular industry, and we'd be happy to discuss that further. So what if we had weather data that you were able to capture right away? And we'll give you an example of 50-mile-an-hour winds in the Rocky Mountains, and we're approaching freezing conditions. So you have freezing rain that's going on right now. So if you had that data as one of your data points, and then certainly you might be able to get that as a data point on its own. But now if you're able to combine that with demographics on your drivers, so think about if you can combine that information with your driver profile, maybe with their traffic record. What about miles driven? Or in this particular case, example, we'll say driver tenure. How long have they been with the company? Are they still on probation? Where are they at in their onboarding process? Now let's assume that we had that information associated. Now you have your weather data. Now you have your driver demographics information. Now let's look at a particular geography of the country. Again, we're in, say, Rocky Mountains. We know that there's complicated traffic conditions, and we happen to know that there's work-related work going on right at that period of time. So that's yet a third set of data. But if you had that third set of data and you had that information, and now you can go ahead and let's not just have to make the individuals here, our team members, work and try to figure out to do. We know that if all this information, these three variables are in one spot, it should trigger certain conditions. It should trigger actions that you know that if you have these variables all in one shot, that you want to take action. So in the case here, you might change the route of those drivers that have been on the job for less than 9 months or less than a year. You may go ahead and take some special precautions. It will take some, you want that system to help identify where the location might be, what type of actions. So at a high level here, and just in this one particular example, weather, information about the driver, risk areas, and what are those potential actions that you should be taking, and let's have the system work for us. So kind of similar to what's going on now in the strategy with the Tesla's driving, self-driving cars and more predictive on accidents there. This is more of what we're looking to do as well in one example. And so from a platform, from a software perspective, we want to be able to talk about how you can use the systems. And again, Logan and Brake Parts have done a great job of looking at employee safety and what they're doing in terms of the progress there. In other cases, you might want to be an additional focus on your fleet. In some cases, they look at a platform like ProcessMAP to environmental risk or overall employee health and working with companies like Medcor in that case. And then in terms of our customer productivity, our product safety risk, and then look at the claims associated with that and what are the dollars. For those of you who don't know ProcessMAP, I want to go ahead and just give you a quick highlight. We've been doing this for 16 years, 125 countries, 2 million users, and this is our focus. It's really working with you, with customers that we're very proud, and partners such as Medcor that we're proud to be part of, that part of be associate, and continuing to build the platform and to develop innovations. So an example here, you can see just a comprehensive look. Coming up here, you'll see a comprehensive look of what a platform might look like. You'll see various integrations on the left-hand side. You'll see a comprehensive list of modules, and then you'll have analytics on your right, and of course, ability to move forward. All the platform, our entire platform is situated with dashboards, with triggers, with notifications, with workflow, and that's what we believe, again, that will help empower your team, just as Logan's done, empower and to improve decision-making and end results. So correlating data to the financial cost drivers is one of the objectives and one key objective. And with that in mind, I think we can probably close out this section. And we're, again, proud to be part of working with Logan and brake parts with Medcor, and really proud to be able to bring on new customers and continue to help innovate and lead this industry to reduce incidents, create the safety culture, and improve the bottom line, all that using on a predictive and moving from reactive to predictive sense. So thank you, everybody, for taking the time. Now we move this into some Q&A, and we're open to polls we're open to some questions. I think we've actually received some so far, so I'll turn this over to, I think, Todd.
Thank you, Harold. And for those of you still on from Europe, we know that we're getting a little bit late, 10 o'clock on the continent and 9 o'clock in the UK. But I would like to see if there's any questions. It looks like we have a couple of minutes before the end of the webinar. If there are, we'd love to field them. If not, we completely understand. And please let us know if you'd like a recording of this webinar. We'd be more than happy to provide it. And then you can provide it to your staff and to people within your company. So I want to go ahead and take a look and see. Hold on.
So first question. What changes did you make to your typical injury process to allow you to classify 85% of your typical ergonomic injuries as first aid? So this would be, Logan, this would be for you.
Yeah, what happens is that we use the U.S. OSHA definitions of injuries, and what happens is that a OSHA injury that is anything beyond first aid typically leads to driving medical bills. What really creates a worker comp claim is driving a medical bill. Once you do that, some people may elect to do things like pay them with a credit card. That sometimes leads to all kinds of problems. The fact that when it comes to response time or when it comes to addressing your TPA or insurance carrier, it slows that down. It doesn't allow the insurance carrier sometimes to do investigations. So what happens is if it's a true first aid only that's handled by Medcor in-house, it doesn't go out for any services. Any injury that goes out for any services at a clinic, a hospital, a clinic other than Medcor, a hospital, emergency room, any of those, brake parts classifies, and we report as a work comp claim. So what we're saying is we had 31 injury incidents at our facility, and 85% of those, or 86% actually, Michelle, our nurse, captured and kept at a first aid stage only. And first aid does not drive, in our opinion, a worker comp claim. Okay. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Logan. Next question I see, this looks like to be for Jerry from Medcor. Jerry, it looks like Medcor is motivated to reduce claims just along in aligning with the customer. So Jerry, can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. I think that when you look at that, if you do a great job of I kind of want to refer to it as a little bit of being that patient advocate, of helping people understand what happened to them and what they need to do to get better. Ultimately, we're aligned with our clients to reduce those workers' compensation claims and the expenses that go along with it. And you'll hear my jadedness here on the rest of this answer to this. I kind of refer to these things as wins and losses a little bit, and I say the win is being able to safely guide somebody back to work and away from that off-site medical visit that may not have been necessary in the first place. And today in your organizations you might be experienced that you have no other options, and when somebody says they were hurt, you are sending them off to that care. And I want to be very, very clear here that the intent is not to deny folks the access to the medical care. In fact, it's supposed to get them access to medical care quicker. And that 85 or 86% that Logan says we're able to treat on site, where we really benefit the client through the use of the on-site services, is by really working well with those outside entities when somebody does go to that off-site provider, that additional 15% to help make sure they're going to the right provider in the first place, that they're perhaps not going to the most expensive care out there if they don't need to go there. And that works both with the on-site and the triage. Somebody got hurt in your organization at 11 o'clock at night and you didn't have access to medical care except for the ER, and it didn't necessarily warrant a trip to the ER. That telephonic injury triage nurse could give them self-care instructions and say, we want you to get to the occupational health clinic tomorrow. So I hope that answers that question.
Great. Jerry, thank you very much. The next question is ProcessMAP deployed in, what other industry is ProcessMAP deployed besides, looks like, transportation? So if you don't mind, I'll take that question. Thank you very much. So the answer is we see ProcessMAP being deployed, certainly transportation, logistics, manufacturing of all types, life sciences, retail is another area that's starting to grow. And believe it or not, even location, any place where we see the opportunity to reduce and improve safety, in any place where you have lots of employees, lots of locations, and of course, any type of safety or incident and dollars associated with that. So a great question. Thank you. Next question. One of the questions, by the way, was, can we get this presentation? And just again, for everyone on the line, this presentation can be made available. Please just go ahead and send us a note there, and we'll make sure that we get that followed up to you so that you can have that for your usage. I guess another question I see here maybe is the MedFile. This is regarding the integration between Medcor and ProcessMAP. Is that a real-time integration or close to real-time integration to share the MedFile data and coordinate it automatically with ProcessMAP? And Jerry, you want to answer that question, or I can answer it either way?
Yeah, I think we both could probably take a stab at it. As soon as Michelle enters that information into the ProcessMAP system, I believe that is being pushed over to ProcessMAP, and it's real time. Is it anything different that you see, Harold?
Oh, yeah, and I would agree. We invested significantly in that integration to ensure that that information is virtually real time, and customers actually have that information so they can take that insight and make those decisions. Then I see another question here for you, Logan.
Yeah.
What tools or techniques are you using to manage your claim once they do occur?
Okay, once they do occur, that's a very good question. Michelle and I actually go over periodically at least once a year, and we deal directly with our hospital emergency room / OC Health, and we make sure that they understand our needs. And if we have any problems, we actually call them and explain. We speak daily almost with our TPA. Our TPA is also our insurer. We have a unique insurance program. We're self-insured for 6 figures, a mid-6 figures number. So what happens is we're first dollar paid, so we kind of help direct some of the results that we want the TPAs to help us accomplish. We also, because we're self-insured, we're allowed to kind of identify and request work comp attorneys that we select. If you're in a traditional, insurance premium program, lots of times the insurer wants to direct who your defense counsel is, usually in-house counsel. We have the advantage, being self-insured, that we tell them who we want to use. We found a like-minded national group of work comp attorneys. We use their representatives in the individual states where we have operations. They help to drive outcomes. Obviously, we've talked about Medcor. The biggest single thing that we did to not only reduce injuries but to manage injuries, the whole time that all this is going along, and when somebody goes out for treatment, they always come back to us, and they always speak with Michelle. So Michelle gets a really good, and we also get their work qualification reports or work restriction reports. So what happens is Michelle gets a really good idea of what they can and can't do. We don't do anything to further their injuries, and that helps us not only that way, But Michelle also is in the same communications I am with our TPA and insurance company, in that it's a united effort to all work together to get the best outcomes, not just for our companies, but for the individual employees as well. So there's a lot of other things we do. We're very proactive. We've been told by multiple service providers, including our TPA, that we're in the top 95th percentile, in communication with these different organizations. So it's active, it's proactive, it's getting down, getting dirty, and getting it done is what it is.
Great. Well, Logan, great answer, and thank you for the question out there. So there are other questions, but I think that's all we're going to have time. But we will endeavor to follow up with all the additional questions and make sure that we get back to you. Those that ask for some of the contacts and presentations, we will follow up appropriately. And so, Todd, you want to turn it over to you for closing?
Yeah, I would just want to reiterate that if you're a current customer, by all means, please get a hold of your customer success or account management representative for a copy of the presentation or a recording. And then if you are someone who is not, by all means, please contact us through this mechanism, the webinar mechanism, or contact us at info@processmap.com, and we're more than happy to get the information to you. I'd like to thank everybody. We've come up on the end of the webinar, and everyone have a great afternoon and a great evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.